let's bring in President of Stellmark LLC and royal expert Hillary Fordwich. Good morning.
Good morning, John. Pleasure to be with you and Krisha.
As always. So let's talk about this momentous occasion. It's quite rare for a president to have two state visits to the UK. What does this say about President Trump's leadership?
Well, it's not only rare, but it also is the first time in history. He is the only head of any state globally ever in British history to have two state visits. And actually, interestingly and surprisingly, there have only been two American presidents that even had state visits, and that was President Obama and President George W. Bush. And we can all remember those scenes of obviously Ronald Reagan riding so close to Queen Elizabeth II in Windsor Great Park, but that was an informal visit. Jimmy Carter's visit was an informal visit. Even JFK's visit was informal. So what does it mean? It really shows this is a genuine, John, a genuine warmth between the then Prince Charles and Donald Trump as he was before he was president, and the now King Charles. They've had a long-standing relationship. They do get along very well, actually, remarkably, despite somewhat different sort of views of the world, because Prince Charles was always dedicated his whole life to planting trees and the environment. And as king, he's carried on that tradition. And I thought what was very special at the state banquet last night, President Trump's eloquent, articulate speech, he actually acknowledged the importance of the environment for King Charles. I thought that was very special. It was diplomatically, literally perfect.
It really was. To talk more about last night's banquet at Windsor Castle, Tiffany Trump and her husband were there, along with Apple CEO Tim Cook and Newsmax's very own Chris Ruddy. I'm looking at him right now. It's very exciting for us here, sitting near Prince William, First Lady Melania Trump, and of course, the Queen. So can you tell us more about what we saw at last night's dinner in terms of the meal and all of the cutlery? What do you have for us, Hillary?
Oh, well, actually, Krisha, you made a brilliant point there, because it was actually incredible to see our CEO of Newsmax, Chris Ruddy, so prominently positioned. Let me assure you and all of our members of our audience, the royals do nothing by mistake. There was no just like, oh, let's put Mr. Ruddy there. That was absolutely done deliberately, which is brilliant. Couldn't be better for Newsmax. Now for the actual banquet, something that I find rather interesting, but if anybody else is interested in history, the menus are in French. Why? Because the Normans invaded in 1066, William the Conqueror. It's a Norman castle, Windsor Castle, built in the 11th century. And everything the aristocrats did was very much from the French, William the Conqueror, and all the aristocrats then came over from France, the knights. So, for example, in English and American, we still refer to beef as beef, from the French bœuf. We don't say cow. Meanwhile, why do we say chicken? It's because chickens are from what the peasants were eating, the English, peasantry at the time. So anyway, going back to the menu was very organic last night, from the gardens, organic herbs, organic vegetables, and also a lot of actually touches that were English and American. The head chef is Mr. Flanagan, and he's brilliant at incorporating touches that both nations at the state dinner appreciate. So there was quite a bit of meat, which made, I hope, President Trump happy. And last but not least, the breaking with tradition was that President Trump was the first head of state in all of history that when the toast was given, had a non-alcoholic beverage, because he's a teetotaler, which very personally I admire, being not a drinker myself. I think he's done the right thing due to his brother passing away. He doesn't drink, and that's another reason for his energy and his sharp, brilliant brain.
Very true.
Wow. So you, after, going through the entire menu, you actually made me hungry.
Me too. It sounds
thinking
great.
about dinner, but you left out dessert.
Oh, well,
What's
yes.
so special about
they had delicious desserts with, actually, John, interesting, the honey is from the beehives on the Windsor estate. So again, all natural right there from the honey. You might be interested to know the lunch they're having today at Chequers, which is in Buckinghamshire, which is the country estate of the Prime Minister. It's where, of course, Winston Churchill spent the last days of his life and a lot of his life. But also, because 10 Downing Street is the London residence. What they're having for lunch there is Dover sole, and you're so interested in dessert, John. It's key lime pie, which is, of course, American, and it's a toss to the American, which, again, Mark Flanagan has done and had an influence there. I think it's very important. And, again, I think thus far, the most important takeaway I have is there's been absolutely no gaffes, and I cannot even contemplate what the left-leaning media could pick on to point to any mistakes. I don't see any.
Yeah.
I love key lime pie.
Me too.
I approve of the menu.
Hillary, you're such a wealth of knowledge. I could feel like I could talk to you all day long about all of this. Today, real quickly, what can we expect from the meeting with President Trump and Keir Starmer?
Well, thank you for saying that, Krisha. Very dear of you, especially coming from someone with a great brain like you. I consider myself sort of a nerd. I love facts and history and information. But anyway, with regard to today, what can happen? This is very important. Yesterday was all about, pomp and circumstance and the great relationships, the soft aspects of the special relationship. It was all planned and played perfectly because today, yes, it's about hardcore business deals. With regard to the nuclear deal, where there are going to be 12 facilities built northeastern England, Hartlepool. Why is that so important? Number one, for data centers to power the AI, it takes approximately about as much electricity as all of New York City for a day. Very important because the UK actually still purchases some components for nuclear power from Russia. That has to stop. So that's very important. And there's a transatlantic technological invention, actually, that is being developed to take nuclear waste, which is always a concern. What do we do with all this nuclear waste, and turn it into additional electricity? So number one is that those AI facilities generated by nuclear power. Number two is the steel deal. There was a 50% tariff that was being lowered to 25%. What the UK wants, of course, is as lower tariffs as absolutely possible. And it looks like President Trump is going to agree to that today. And then there is a vast tech deal with Google, Microsoft, and of course, Apple CEO Tim Cook was at the dinner last night. There's going to be an announcement of a huge tech deal, and we'll hear the details of that at the press conference. But I believe it's supposed to be something in the realm of $42 billion, and there's going to be more than 12,000 UK jobs beneficial for both sides of the Atlantic.
Wow.
I'm glad we were able to tap your royal and business expertise.
That's right. Hillary Fordwich, wow, covering it all for us this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Smashing. Thank you for having me.
You
got it.